to the Limb Strong podcast. Whether you are a patient, a caregiver, or a medical professional, you found a community dedicated to hope and recovery. I'm your host, Lori, and each month we will bring you real stories from the front lines of limb preservation, from the incredible resilience of our community to the latest breakthroughs in medical technology. First, a word from our sponsors. At the Limb Preservation Foundation, our mission is simple: to provide community and support for those experiencing life and limb-threatening conditions. Let's get started. Today we're going to be talking about, and more importantly, talking to caregivers. Caregivers are often the invisible backbone in limb loss, a fundamental but unseen and sometimes unsung part of the recovery process. Recent estimates report that throughout the country, 38 million people are serving as unpaid family caregivers, spending an average of 18 hours a week managing medication, appointments, and emotions. Their partners, their parents, their friends, who overnight found themselves becoming advocates, care coordinators, and support systems. In this episode, we're going to hear the impact that caregivers have had on the limb loss community, and more than that, we're going to hear the impact that caregiving has had on these people. Our guests today are Sue and John Love. In 2023, a gas leak in their home caused an explosion, injuring Sue severely in the blast. Now, 3 years down the road, Sue and John are here with us today to talk about their experience. Welcome. Let's start by telling the listeners a little about your story. Sue, can you set the scene for us on the day that everything changed?
That was a day that changed my life for sure. I was sitting in the computer in my house on the computer, and my dog came to me and said, Mom, we got to get outside. It's like she knew. So I got up to take her out, and just before I got to the door, I saw this beautiful big white light. I mean, it was like, wow. And then I felt this incredible love. And it's like, but I had no idea what happened. I didn't know what was going on. I just felt so wonderful. What I learned was our house had a major propane bomb explosion. The 500-gallon propane tanks that heats up your house. Well, it went underneath the house, and there was a leak, and it filled the whole crawl space.
We did not know.
So this picture here, I don't know if you can see that very good. This is what's left of our home.
And Sue was
I was
inside.
inside of it. I mean, you can tell how massive it was.
Yeah, 60 seconds before it happened, I had been right down there with Sue, and I was walking up to the shed to get my cell phone, and I got 150 steps away from the home, and it blew. I turned around, and I saw our entire home going over 100 foot in the air, knowing Sue's inside. I turned around and I ran back before things even were hitting the ground. Fortunately, I was not hit with anything. And I couldn't find Sue at first. I yelled, "Are you alive?" And I heard her moaning. I followed her moans and found her buried under debris. I uncovered her, and then realizing she was still alive, I ran, got my cell phone, and called 911. But this blast, because it filled up the entire crawl space, we have figured it out. She wrote a 1,500 cubic foot propane bomb and lived.
How is that possible? I mean, just how is that possible?
People from the military have told us there is no way she should have survived that. And yet here she is. So we give thanks for her survival.
I mean, it was so massive that we lived in the mountains, and 200 feet below us, it cracked the...
Yeah, our nearest neighbor, 200 feet below us, it cracked the wall in their house.
We had a great big recliner chair that went up in the air over 100 feet, twisted like a pretzel, and landed in a tree.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was just massive, the extent of the explosion, and she survived.
So, by the grace of God. God is who saved me.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's kind of, and then I got flown to the, by helicopter, I got flown to a major trauma center.
Major trauma center
in Colorado
over all the mountains of Colorado, because we were way down in the corner, and the only place that could handle the extent of Sue's injuries was right next to the U.S. Olympic Center in Colorado Springs, and that's where she was flown.
So with the explosion, we lost everything. We lost our home. We lost, my dog was 2 feet from me. She died instantly. I lost all of our belongings. I lost our way of life because even though I survived, I lost both of my feet. My feet were just like gravel, and so they had to cut that off. And so
we were very surprised that she did survive, especially the flight over all those mountains.
So anyway, let's get through these questions, right?
Yeah.
Well, I can't imagine having lived through that, and it's incredible to hear your story. John, can you tell us from your perspective, what do you remember most about the early days post-accident?
Oh man, I was overwhelmed. First, overwhelmed with we lost everything. We were now homeless, staring at an unknown what's going to be involved. Fortunately, we had insurance, but we didn't know how everything was going to be handled. And we didn't know how long it was going to take. We were so overwhelmed. And
he was with me 24/7 in the hospital, the rehab. I mean, I would not have been able to survive if it wasn't for him being my caregiver.
The timing was such, this event happened just after COVID had decimated the entire healthcare industry. And so all these wonderful people in the hospitals and rehab, they were running short-staffed. And so I was there being with Sue 24/7 to help them do their jobs because they were trying to care for way too many people.
Anyway.
Is there a piece of advice that you would give to the spouse of someone going through a crisis like this? Or is there something you wish someone had told you while you were going through it?
Well, for starters, I wish there had been a pamphlet or a manual or something. Nobody in the hospital, and it's like nobody clued me in as to what to expect. I had no idea. At first I was just focused on, is she going to make it? Is she going to survive? And then, all of that whole healing process and stuff, I had no idea what to expect. And we were fortunate that while we were still in the hospital, there was a peer mentor that came in to tell us about the journey and what this other gal had gone through. And she was a huge resource, helping
not only for me as an amputee, but also
for me as a caregiver. It's the first we had any inclination of what we were running into. Fortunately, the amputee, they have great resources and pamphlets and stuff to help educate the amputee, but there really was not enough to let me as a caregiver know what to expect.
Yeah, that's a great point. Sort of an underserved role, but so important for the support that you were able to provide to your wife. Is there anything during this process of healing and recovery that changed in your relationship or surprised you in your relationship?
Oh, yes. Prior to the incident, I was like many spouses. I was self-absorbed and all about me, and I was had my own way of looking at things, and as a result of this, and I thought I lost her, and it changed me big time. And so now recognizing how precious she was to me and how fortunate I was that she survived, I found myself gladly stepping into being there for her, even sleeping on the floor in the hospital, whatever, just to be near her and make sure she's okay.
That was really beautifully said, John. Thank you for sharing that. Sue, can I ask you the same question?
that's a good question. I wasn't prepared for that one. We'll
Oh.
get that.
She was surprised.
I was really surprised because like John said, it was always all about him. And then all of a sudden it was all about me. And it was like, whoa, but I didn't, you might want to cut this all out. Um,
We can move on. We can move on to the next question. No
yeah, let's
problem.
just go.
What are some of the emotional challenges that caregivers face that people don't talk about enough?
Oh,
Grieving,
grieving, big time.
grieving.
I mean,
Um,
everybody's aware that the amputee has lost a part of their body, and they have to now deal with, how do I now live with the loss of that part of my body? It changes everything, their self-image. It changes what they can do. And like in Sue's situation, even though she was fortunate not to have a head trauma, what we have discovered is, as she's been going through this healing process, she's having to relearn so many things you wouldn't even expect. Things that used to be easy and normal. It's like even just getting up out of a chair. She has to do everything different than what she used to.
and it was important that John didn't judge me or criticize me for doing it. Had patience with me in learning what I had to go through. And if I got upset, because it was, when I get grieving and sad, I get upset, and
Yeah.
he had to learn to not take things personally.
Yeah, and to just be there.
And just be there for me, and
Yeah.
we had to allow each other to grieve, because you had to grieve too, right?
Oh yeah, that's the other thing is, everybody focuses on the amputee and what they lost, but as a caregiver, I lost whatever separate identity I had from being a caregiver, and I lost, as we used to be able to do walks and do all these outside activities together, and that's all different now. And you know and I came from being a massage therapist, and I used to love massaging her feet. Now there's no feet, so I lost her feet as well. So they don't stop to realize the caregiver is on the mirror side of that loss.
I know one of the things that we had issue. Well, you just don't understand. You don't understand. I lost my feet, and John saying, "I lost your feet too," and I had a hard time understanding that at first. But we both lost something. That's why we had to grieve together.
Yeah,
it's so
a lot
important
of
that you have to
grieving on
grieve.
both sides.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective, and thank you so much for sharing that. John, you talked a little bit about, being somewhat unseen or not having the resources that you needed. How do you balance caring for yourself while you're also caring for Sue?
So I'm still trying to do a good job with that one. Um, I have to always make sure that because her survival is critical, and I have to make sure that everything physically is done, and then also emotionally for her to be there. Um, there are times that it's like I still get overwhelmed, and we find that patience on both directions is so important. And if I do get overwhelmed, I try and share that with her. It's like, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, or sometimes I'll just make the excuse I need to go to the restroom so that I can just be by myself and just collect myself, and do a little self-care, and then return to her, as refreshed as I can be.
Another challenge is, especially in the beginning, I always felt like a burden, and
Yeah,
I kept and John trying to tell me I'm not a burden.
yeah.
But
I can't tell you how many times she said, I just feel like I'm a burden. And it's like, no, you are not a burden. You are a blessing. I am so grateful that you survived. I am so fortunate to have this opportunity. I truly feel honored to have the opportunity to be there for her when she needs me the most like this. It's, being a caregiver is challenging,
yeah,
but it is actually so rewarding at the same time. to know that I'm making a difference for her.
Yeah, that's really beautifully said. Building on that, are there any like meaningful positive moments that stand out for you from this journey that you've been on together?
I would say one particular day stands out above all the rest, and that was 4 months to the day after the explosion. Now, the doctors had told her, based on her extent of her injuries, they expected her to be in the hospital for 3 to 4 months. Okay, after 11 surgeries, she was out of the hospital to the day 1 month after the explosion. And then she was only in rehab for another month. And then we were on the adventure of trying to live independently in our own little apartment that we had. And we had the opportunity, thanks to the strong encouragement from that peer support person, we found out about this event called Empower Fest. And we were able to register and make it to this event, which was held in Salt Lake City.
Prior to that, during that first 4 months, I basically thought, as a double amputee, that my life is over. And so, and I thought, well, my mentor was saying, oh, you got to go to this Empower
Event.
Fest. Even if you can just paint or meditate, whatever, meet other people. But anyway,
So we get there, there's 180 amputees plus caregivers, and we're watching people with no limbs living life fully. And it's like, whoa, it was such a huge shift in perspective. And the support and love that we encountered, it's like a whole new huge family opened up to us. And on at that event on Saturday, we started the day by doing a 1K race. Now, Sue had no feet, so she's in the wheelchair, and I pushed her. But here she is, just so into it. And when she crossed that finish line, she's like, yeah, that was so empowering and so beautiful. And then from there, we got to go over to Park City to the U.S. Paralympic ice skating rink where they train. And she got on the ice with the U.S. Paralympic team. And she was skating around with them, and she actually scored a goal. That was so amazing. And then she got into a sport chair and played some pickleball. And we even got to ride a tandem bike. Now, of course, I had to do all the pedaling because she had no feet. But to be able to do a tandem bike with her, 4 months, she was supposed to still be in the hospital. And here we are doing all these amazing things. That day stood out above all the rest in this journey. She found her zest for life again.
yes, it gave me purpose. And it gave you purpose too.
Yeah, it was an amazing thing.
Yeah, that sounds just incredibly uplifting. You know, you spoke about EmpowerFest, you spoke about the peer mentor that came to visit you in the hospital. What other role did community and support groups play in this journey?
Oh, tremendous. Because we lost everything, we found that we had tremendous support from the community as a whole. Friends were very supportive financially, and also we had multiple offers. Once she's out of the hospital and out of rehab, come stay with us, you know. And then for both Sue and I, the social media, the support
Social media
groups,
has really helped a lot.
huge.
You know, there's support group for amputees, but there's support group for caregivers.
Yeah,
And that really helped, because then you don't feel like you're so alone,
yeah.
and you can ask for help. And also finding a peer mentor, you
Oh,
know,
that was huge.
and then doing programs like what you've got. You know, there's several programs that, you know, has helped.
Yeah.
What would you
And then
say
for
to,
me, and for me too, real quick, for the amputee, but I think it helps with you too, is the adaptive sports program. I've gotten into a lot of sports, doing water skiing, snow skiing, and all that. And John gets to participate too. As a caregiver, he gets to participate. So we both get to have fun.
Yeah. And one of the things, a lot of communities have adaptive sports programs available. And if you find yourself as a caregiver or as an amputee, reach out and search out these adaptive sports. They make huge difference. I mean,
Okay, I think so. Yeah.
she's been water skiing, she's been snow skiing, she even did an airplane glider.
So life goes on.
Yeah, all because there's all these adaptive
Yes.
events
And people like
available.
and groups like yours has really helped a lot.
Yeah.
Incredible. Thank you for sharing. We are coming to the end here. So, John, let me just ask you, what advice would you give to new caregivers?
Oh, first of all, never give up. Things may get overwhelming, you may get exhausted, whatever, but never give up and seek out support. Um,
You're not alone.
yeah, and have courage. You know, you're not alone. And what we found for us is remembering we're a team, we're in this together, and having patience,
Patient.
and learn. You know, the more we can learn about what the other is going through, like as a caregiver, to read all these things that Sue was finding out on the Facebook support groups for amputees. I learned what they go through, and it really helped me as a caregiver to then know how I was needed by Sue. And another, I would have to say, humor. Humor is hugely important. Yeah, and I want to quickly share. Before the incident, I was joking with Sue. It's like, I love you enough. I love you, but I don't know if I love you enough to clean up after you if were like in diapers or something like that. And I found out I do. I love her very much.
And
Well, thank
Because
you for
that's part of the role of being a caregiver is, you know,
and for me as an amputee, what I really needed more for John, and he's an excellent caregiver, but he wasn't always there for me emotionally. And because we're going through a lot of emotions, I think it would be important for the caregiver to know, if they're angry or mad, don't take it personally. They need to vent. I need John. Sometimes I just need John to come and just, instead of taking care of my needs, physical need, just hold me.
Just hold her.
But, just hold me. Let me know I'm not alone. That we can do this together.
Yeah.
Because it's scary.
Yeah.
I'm both being an amputee and a caregiver. We're both scared.
Yeah. And we both go through the emotional roller coaster. Good days, tough days. I don't want to say bad, because if you get through it, it's not a bad day. It just was a tough one. So. And remember,
yeah, thank you for sharing. I think that your words and your story and that advice that you've just given can really help other folks out there hearing it who are just going through it for the first time. Um, and that was really powerful. So I really appreciate you being willing to share that story with us. Before we wrap, are there any final things you'd like to share with our audience? Any resources? I'm pausing here because this was for you to share your book.
Oh
yeah.
Well, so the first after I got out of the hospital and rehab, was like we're sitting here in the hotel trying to heal. And so what do we do? And so we
here, I'll do it so you got fingers in the way. That's our book.
Read our first book. So this book is about what happened, the shares to what happened with the explosion, how we went from being in the hospital to rehab. What do you do when you're out of rehab? The setbacks, the emotional roller coaster. What do you do with this? We even have a chapter on
patient caregiver.
And so we tried to cover what our first month, that first 6 months was like, being an amputee and him a caregiver.
Yeah. And so we share from both perspectives.
Yeah.
Patient, caregiver, so it's wonderful. And it's available on Amazon.
And then after 2 years, a year later, a year and a half later, we wrote our second book called From Surviving to Thriving, Having Your Dreams Come True After Losing Everything. And life does go on.
Yeah. And we find, interestingly enough, that second book helps us as we go through even now. We still have the emotional roller coaster. We still have days that are tougher than others. And it just helps us to remember resources, I guess, inner resources.
We hear over and over again the impact of just having access to resource on people who are going through limb loss, people who are supporting them. So for those of you that are maybe listening on audio, we will have links to these books as well as other caregiving and amputee resources available at our website, limbpreservation.org, for you to check out and hopefully find some of the help and support that you need. I just want to say thank you again to Sue and John for being with us today and sharing your story.
Thank you
Very
for having
welcome.
us.
It was our privilege.